tick, waving scraps of paper in the air and screaming, "You're letting your own brother-in-law die!" I didn't even flinch. I just looked her dead in the eye and said, "I'm not a match." I took the damn test 6 months ago. Before we start, let us know in the comments, how's your day going and where are you joining from? And let's get back to the story. She wasn't listening. None of them were. Nadine sat in her wheelchair like a skeleton wrapped in a scarf, bald from the chemo, but still managing to smirk like she was the one running the show. Her dad, Ron, stepped in front of me, face red, jabbing a finger at my chest. "You're a liar. You're doing this to punish us." I pulled up the email on my phone, the one from Be the Match, held it up. "Read it. I already got tested. I'm not compatible with Nadine. I'm not compatible with anyone in your damn family." Ron swiped the phone away like it burned him. "Get tested again," Cheryl snapped, her voice cracking now. "You owe us that much." "You're out of your mind if you think I owe you anything," I said, keeping my voice even. Barely. My hands were clenched into fists in my lap. "You want proof? Ask Dr. Wong. Ask him how genetics work." "Right on cue, doctor." Wong walked in with his calm, polite face that wasn't fooling anyone. "It's not that simple," he explained. "If someone is not a genetic match, retesting won't change that." "Then check again!" Cheryl screamed, loud enough that the receptionist peeked around the corner. Dr. Wong tried to explain again, breaking it down in words you'd use for kindergartners. "Bone marrow compatibility is based on inherited markers. If he's not a match, it means he doesn't share the necessary genes." Cheryl folded her arms like she didn't hear a word. "He's lying. He's just trying to get back at us." I looked over at Nadine. She just stared at me, calm, smug, like this was her favorite soap opera, and I was the villain. I stood up. "Fine," I said. "You want another test? Let's do it. Then when it comes back the same, maybe you'll finally shut the hell up." Dr. Wong gave a small nod, already motioning toward the hallway. Cheryl was still yelling behind me. I followed the nurse, not looking back. Let them scream. I was done playing the bad guy in their twisted little story. The nurse led me down the hall without saying much. Fluorescent lights buzzing above, linoleum squeaking under her sneakers. She opened the door to a small room and motioned for me to sit. I stuck out my arm. "Let's get this over with." She tied the rubber band around my bicep, wiped the inside of my elbow, and slid the needle in without warning. I stared at the wall, jaw clenched. Out in the hallway, Cheryl's voice came through the closed door like a drill. "We gave him everything for 24 years, and this is how he repays us?" I shook my head and muttered, "You gave me hell." The nurse glanced up but stayed quiet. After she labeled the vials and left, I stepped back into the waiting room, and Cheryl pounced. "You had a roof, food. We took you in when nobody else wanted to deal with you." I leaned against the doorframe. "You kicked me out when I was 17 for telling the truth about your daughter." Ron crossed his arms. "You were disturbed. You lied. You made things up to get attention." "Really? Then how'd I end up with a fractured wrist?" I snapped. "How'd I get second-degree burns from falling against the stove, huh?" Nadine smiled from her chair, lazy and mean. "You always were dramatic." I ignored her and looked straight at Ron. "You want to talk about disturbed? Let's talk about what you did when I tried to tell someone. When I showed the school nurse what she did." He didn't answer. Neither did Cheryl. I let the silence hang just long enough before driving the knife in. "You checked me into that psych ward before I even turned 18. Signed the papers so fast it made my head spin." Cheryl's mouth tightened. "You needed help." "Number I needed someone to believe me," I said. "But you couldn't have your golden girl exposed, could you? So you locked me up." Nadine rolled her eyes. "Oh, get over it." "I'm over it," I said. "I've been over it, but I kept the records. I've got every damn page. Therapist notes, intake forms, photos. I wasn't crazy. I was abused." Ron started pacing. "We're not here to dig up the past. This is about family. Family helps family. I barked a laugh. Family? You think that's what this is? You threw me into a psych facility to protect your image. You let your daughter burn and break me, then gaslight me into thinking it was my fault. Cheryl pointed a trembling finger. You're twisting everything. No, I'm just finally saying it out loud. You people used me, controlled me. Now you want something, so you're pretending I matter. Dr. Wong came back into the room, and Cheryl immediately turned to him. He's being combative. Can you just talk to him? Explain how important this is? I already did, Doctor, Wong said calmly. He agreed to the test. Cheryl looked like she wanted to rip his face off. He doesn't understand the stakes. I understand perfectly, I said, stepping in front of her. You think if you scream loud enough, I'll forget everything you did. Ron pulled Nadine's chair closer. She's dying. Yeah, and I didn't make her sick. She's your sister, Cheryl snapped. I laughed once, sharp. She was never my sister. She was your attack dog. Dr. Wong cleared his throat. Results should be ready in about 45 minutes. I'll come get you. He left, and the room went stiff. Nadine looked up at me, that same smug look from earlier. You know you're going to feel like shit when this test says you're a match. If it does, I said, I'll get back in line for sainthood. Until then, save the manipulative crap. I walked across the room, grabbed a cup of water from the cooler, and sat back down in the same vinyl chair, even though it still dug into my back like punishment. I didn't speak. I didn't argue. I let them stew in their silence. They thought they could rewrite the past. Not this time. 45 minutes of dead silence. That's how long we sat there waiting. Ron flipped through an old Field and Stream magazine like he gave a damn about bass fishing. Nadine scrolled on her phone, eyes unfocused. Cheryl just stared at me, arms crossed, jaw locked. I sat with my hands folded in my lap, pretending I couldn't feel the tension pressing into my chest like a cinder block. The second Dr. Wong stepped back in, I knew something was off. He held a folder in both hands, like it was fragile. His face was calm, but his eyes were tight, like he'd seen something and didn't know how to say it. He glanced at me first. Can we speak privately? No, Cheryl said instantly. This is a family matter. Dr. Wong hesitated, then looked at me. It's your call. Let's just get it over with, I said, keeping my voice flat. He nodded and opened the folder. The results are back. He's not a match for Nadine. No surprise there, I muttered. He didn't laugh. He looked cautious. He's also not a match for anyone in the family, not even distantly. The room dropped into instant silence. Ron sat up straight. Cheryl's hands gripped the arms of her chair so tight her knuckles went white. Nadine's head turned slowly, her face suddenly alert. Dr. Wong went on, like he wasn't sure we understood. Based on the expanded panel, there's no biological connection. Not to Nadine, not to Cheryl or Ronald. Genetically speaking, you're unrelated. What? Ron asked, but it came out hollow. Are you saying he's not her brother? Cheryl's voice cracked halfway through the sentence. Dr. Wong gave a slight nod. He's not related to anyone in this family. I stared at him for a second, trying to figure out if this was a joke. Then it hit me. A laugh bubbled up before I could stop it. Loud, fast, sharp. So Nadine was right all along, I said through the laughter. I was adopted. Ron's eyes shot to Cheryl. No, she said too quickly. It's not like that. Bullshit, I said. You told me I was your son. You let me think I was blood for 24 years. We took you in, Cheryl snapped. You were two. We raised you like our own. Then why lie about it? I shot back. Why let me grow up thinking I belonged? I didn't lie, she said, standing now, her voice shaking. We never signed adoption papers. There was never a formal process. We took you in. You were left with us. Left? I repeated. What the hell does that mean? Ron finally spoke, but his voice was low. You were dropped off after the accident. Your parents... My parents? I interrupted. You mean the ones you never mentioned? The ones who apparently weren't you? He didn't answer. Nadine was watching me like I was a puzzle she'd finally figured out. No more smirking, just quiet calculation. I turned to her. How long have you known? She shrugged. I always thought something was off. You didn't look like us. You didn't act like us. You told everyone I was adopted. You used it to mock me. Because it pissed you off, she said, no apology in her voice. Guess I hit a nerve. I turned back to Cheryl. So all those years, the jokes, the abuse, the manipulation, you weren't even my family. You just played house with me until I stopped fitting. That's not fair, she said, voice cracking. No, I said, stepping forward. What's not fair is convincing a kid he's crazy for seeing what's right in front of him. What's not fair is letting him think he's defective for not being like the rest of you. You don't understand what it was like back then, Cheryl snapped. We didn't know how to handle you. You didn't try, I said. You locked me away. You threw me out. And now that you want something, now that you need a savior, you suddenly remember I exist? Dr. Wong cleared his throat. I think it's best if we wrap up here. I nodded. Yeah, I've heard enough. Cheryl tried to reach for my arm. Please, wait. I pulled back. Don't touch me. Ron stood but didn't move toward me. There has to be some mistake. Dr. Wong handed him a copy of the results. It's not a mistake. Cheryl was shaking her head, like if she denied it long enough it'd go away. You were ours. We loved you. Love doesn't look like that, I said. Nadine leaned back in her chair, arms crossed. Well, I guess this whole day was pointless. I turned to her one last time. No, it wasn't. I finally got the truth. And it explains everything. I didn't wait for anyone to stop me. I walked out of that room with the results in my hand and a pressure in my chest I hadn't realized was there until it started lifting. I wasn't like them, because I never was one of them. I didn't even sit down when I got back to the waiting room. I stood in the middle of it and looked all three of them in the face. I'm not donating, I said loud and clear. Not now. Not ever. Nadine's jaw dropped first. Then Ron blinked like he misheard me. Cheryl? She went straight to rage. You can't do that. I just did. You have to, she shouted, her voice going shrill. You owe us. No, I said, keeping my tone steady. You don't get to throw me away, deny who I am, and then come begging when you need something cut out of my body. Ron stepped forward, hands up. Let's not be rash. You're upset. That's understandable. You think I'm upset? I said, eyes locked on his. Number, I'm clear. I've never seen things this clearly in my life. Nadine leaned forward in her chair, playing the weak little sister role she wore like a second skin. I'm dying. I looked her dead in the eye. Yes, you are. That landed like a slap. Her lips parted, but she didn't speak. For the first time, she looked rattled. Real fear, not performance. You're heartless, Cheryl hissed. I turned to her. You treated me like trash since the day I could walk and talk. You gaslit me, locked me up, kicked me out. Now you want to act like this is about family? You were family, she yelled, stepping toward me. We raised you. I took a step back. Number, you owned me, or thought you did. She reached for my arm. I pulled away fast. Don't touch me. Dr. Wong stepped in between us, calm but firm. Let's all lower our voices. She's going to die if he doesn't do this, Ron barked. Isn't that enough to make him act like a decent human being? She's not my sister, I said. She never was. And I don't owe any of you anything. Dr. Wong looked at me. Would you like me to formally document your ineligibility for the procedure? Yes, I said. Right now. He nodded. Come with me. As I followed him out, Cheryl screamed after me, This is murder! You're letting her die! I didn't even flinch. We walked down the hall, past the nurse's station. I could hear Ron shouting something behind us. Didn't matter. I was done. Dr. Wong brought me into his office, had me sign a few forms, and printed a statement saying I was not a suitable donor and had declined further participation. "You understand this makes your decision final?" he asked. "I do." He hesitated. "I know this isn't easy. It's actually the easiest decision I've made in 24 years. He didn't argue. He handed me the form. "Here's your copy. You're officially done." As we walked back, 2 security guards were already standing outside the waiting room. Cheryl was still yelling. Nadine looked pale, her arms crossed tight over her chest. Ron was pacing in circles, trying to talk to the guards like they gave a damn. "She's dying. Do you know what that means? He's her only shot." "He's not a match, sir," one of the guards said flatly. "And even if he was, this is voluntary." They tried to keep arguing, but security wasn't having it. The second they touched Cheryl's elbow, she started shrieking again. Nadine didn't move, just glared at me like I'd betrayed her. Good. I stepped to the side as they were let out. Cheryl shouted something about me burning in hell. Ron was red-faced, still yelling about second chances and how I'd regret this. Nadine didn't say a word, just let herself be rolled away like the queen being carted off to her funeral. The doors closed behind them, and then silence. For the first time in years, maybe ever, I felt something slide off my chest, like someone had finally cut the damn chains. I walked back into the waiting room, sat down in that same chair one more time, and let out a slow breath. Dr. Wong came back in a minute later. "You okay?" I looked up at him. "I'm not broken." He gave me a small nod. I just wasn't theirs. He didn't say anything else, just gave me a little space. I appreciated that. I pulled out my phone, checked the time. Then I got up, walked out through the automatic doors, and felt the warm sun hit my face like it meant something. I wasn't walking away from family. I was walking away from people who never saw me as anything more than a tool, a scapegoat, a lie. And I didn't feel guilty. Not anymore. I didn't go home right away. I walked 3 blocks in the heat, barely noticing it, and ended up in front of a bar. Marcus and I used to hit back in the day. The sign out front was half burned out. Inside smelled like old wood, cheap beer, and fried something. It was perfect. I grabbed a booth in the back and pulled out my phone. The second he picked up, I didn't even say hi. "They're not my family." There was a pause. Then Marcus said, "Damn. So it's finally out." "Yeah," I said, almost laughing. "Doctor confirmed it. Not a match. Not to any of them. I'm not biologically related. At all." "That explains a lot," he said. I could hear the smile in his voice. "I thought it would mess me up more," I admitted. "But honestly, it feels like I can finally breathe." "Good," he said. "About damn time." I looked around the bar. Only 2 other people inside, a couple watching some muted game on the screen above the bar. "You close?" I asked. 15 minutes away. You still drink shitty beer?" "I only drink shitty beer." He laughed. "Be there in 10. He showed up in 8 in his usual old boots and a t-shirt that probably hadn't seen detergent in a week. We didn't hug. Didn't need to. He just sat down across from me, flagged the waitress, and ordered us 2 pitchers of whatever was coldest. When the beer hit the table, he poured mine first. "So, not their kid, huh?" I shook my head. "Not even distantly. Doc said we're genetically strangers." "Did you ask where you actually came from?" "Not yet," I said. "I needed one day. Just one where I wasn't tangled up in their bullshit." Marcus nodded, then lifted his glass. "To being done with those assholes." I clinked mine against his. "To being free." We drank. Not fast, just steady, easy. He looked at me after a few minutes. "You really okay?" I thought about it. "I think I am. There's this guilt I've carried for years. Every time I didn't call them back. Every holiday I didn't show up. Every time I said no and felt like a bad person for it. And now? It's gone, I said, because it was never real. That guilt was something they built, like a trap. You know? Marcus leaned back and stretched out his legs under the table. I remember the day they kicked you out. You showed up at my door with a garbage bag full of clothes and a broken wrist. Yeah, I said quietly. I remember that too. You slept on my floor for a week, said almost nothing, just stared at the ceiling. I thought it was my fault, I said, that I deserved it. He shook his head. Nah, you were surviving. You helped me get emancipated, got me that job at the auto shop, let me crash with your grandma. He raised his glass again. Because you were my real brother. Didn't need blood for that. I looked at him and felt something settle deep in my chest. Something solid. Something real. Thanks, I said. You don't have to thank me, man. I know, but I mean it. We ordered food, drank more, talked about nothing. It was the kind of night that felt like old times. No pressure, no tension, no lies in the air waiting to explode. I leaned back in the booth, buzzed but clear-headed. I think I might look into it. Into what? Where I came from, my real parents, if there's anything left to find. You think you're ready for that? Maybe, I said. Or maybe I just want to know my real name, not the one they gave me. He raised an eyebrow. Bet you had a cooler name before Ron and Cheryl got a hold of you. Couldn't be worse, I laughed. You sure you're not going to get sucked back in? No, I said, serious now. I'm done with that chapter. I'm not chasing their approval anymore. I'm not explaining myself, not apologizing, not playing peacekeeper. Marcus nodded like he'd been waiting years to hear that. I'm living my life now, I said. Not theirs. He raised his glass again. I'll drink to that. We toasted one more time, and I sat there, watching the bubbles rise and pop. I didn't know who I was before they named me, but for the first time, I wanted to find out. And this time, I'd be the one writing the story. A couple months after that night at the bar with Marcus, I stopped checking the news on her. Didn't Google her name, didn't ask around, didn't care, but word had a way of creeping in anyway. 6 months later, I was grabbing lunch with an old coworker from the shop, this guy Pete who'd always been a little too chatty for my taste. And out of nowhere he goes, "Hey, heard your sister pulled through." I didn't flinch. Ex-sister, I corrected. He looked confused. Huh? Not blood, not family, long story. Oh, damn, he said. Well, I guess some stranger stepped up at the last minute. Donated Marrow. Saved her life. I nodded, took a bite of my sandwich, and let the silence make him uncomfortable for once. That night I went home and cracked open a beer. Sat on the porch in the sticky heat, watching mosquitoes bounce off the porch light, and tried to feel something about it. Nothing came. Not relief, not anger, not even bitterness. I just didn't care. Later that week, a message popped up in my inbox from a girl I hadn't talked to since middle school. She said, "Hey, I know this is random, but Cheryl asked me to reach out to you. She said they don't have your number anymore." I didn't respond, just blocked and deleted. The week after that, I got a letter in the mail. No return address, neat handwriting. I knew it was Cheryl before I even opened it. I tore it in half and dropped it straight in the trash. Then came the Facebook messages, through people I barely remembered. A cousin I hadn't seen since I was 10, an old church neighbor, a guy I used to carpool with for summer league baseball, all saying the same thing. They just want to talk. She's changed. It's different now. I didn't answer any of them. I wasn't curious. I wasn't tempted. Whatever change Nadine had gone through, if it was even real, was none of my business. I'd given that family 2 decades of my life. All they gave me was trauma, lies, and a warped sense of who I was supposed to be. They picked their golden child, the one who could do no wrong, Even while breaking bones and burning skin, they turned their backs on me, buried the truth, told me I was crazy, dangerous, broken. Let her take care of them now. If she was really better, if she'd truly changed, good for her. But I wasn't a witness to that redemption arc. I wasn't part of that show. I wasn't invited, and I wouldn't show up even if I was. I remember Cheryl's voice the last time I saw her, screaming that I'd burn in hell, that I'd regret it forever. But I didn't. Not even a little. The more time passed, the lighter I felt. I stopped jumping when my phone buzzed. Stopped wondering if I should check the voicemail. Stopped feeling like there was this invisible rope still wrapped around my neck, yanking me back into the past. Marcus and I were grabbing wings at the bar one night, and he asked, "You ever hear from them?" "They tried," I said. He raised an eyebrow. "You respond?" I shook my head. Didn't even read half of it. He smiled. "Proud of you." I didn't say anything right away. I just took a sip of beer and stared at the table for a second. "You know the weirdest part?" I said finally. "I don't hate them. Not anymore." "No?" I shook my head again. Hate takes energy. I don't have that kind of energy for them. They're just gone. He tapped his glass against mine. "That's called peace, man." I smirked. Took me long enough. Back at home that night, I pulled open the bottom drawer of my desk, the one where I'd stashed old documents, mail, junk I didn't want to look at but couldn't quite throw away. The torn envelope from Cheryl was still there, unread. I held it for a second, then tossed it in the shredder. Let them keep waiting. Let them hold out hope for some tearful reunion. I had no plans for that, no unfinished business, no revenge fantasy. Just distance. And for the first time in my life, I wasn't carrying anything that didn't belong to me. They could call it cold. They could call it selfish. I called it freedom. After I shredded Cheryl's last letter, I sat there a minute, staring at the empty drawer. And something hit me. I knew who they were. I knew what they did to me, what they weren't. But I still didn't know who I was. Not really. So I filed the paperwork. Vital records, social services, old court documents. It took a couple months. Background checks, signatures, processing delays. But one Tuesday morning, a fat envelope showed up in my mailbox with a return address stamped State of Indiana, Department of Child Services. I didn't open it right away. I took it inside, made coffee, stood at the counter, turning the envelope over in my hands like it might explode. Then I tore it open. Right there, printed on faded yellow copies of legal paperwork. Age placed, 2 years, 3 months. Cause, parental death, motor vehicle accident, emergency placement approved, Ronald and Cheryl McAllister, relationship to child, family friends. That part landed like a brick. Family friends, no blood, no next of kin, not even a cousin. Just 2 people who said yes when the state needed a warm body to take me in. And apparently even that had been questioned. There was a note from a caseworker saying, "Concerns noted regarding prior use of corporal punishment and lack of emotional attunement, recommending biannual welfare checks." Another line, "Placement approved despite concerns. No other kin available. Recommend counseling services." I set the file down and rubbed my face with both hands. They knew. The state knew. But they placed me there anyway. Probably needed to close a case. Probably thought, at least he has a bed. I went back to the file, found the names, my real parents, Angela Mae Rivers, Thomas Bradley Rivers, married 5 years, died on impact, car wreck just outside Fort Wayne. They'd been driving home from a weekend trip. Ice on the road. Another driver spun out and clipped their back tire. My mom was 28, my dad, 31, and there, just above the signature line, child's legal name at birth, Julian Thomas Rivers. I froze, read it again. Julian. That was me. They named me after my grandfather, Julian Rivers Sr., according to a scribbled note in the margin. I sat down at the kitchen table and stared at that one damn line for at least 20 minutes. Julian. It didn't change anything. Not really. But it felt right. Like I'd just recovered a piece of something someone tried to bury. The next day I filed a petition to add it back. Didn't ditch my whole name. Didn't need to. But I changed my middle name legally to Julian. Felt like a small way of planting a flag. This is mine. A few weeks later I got the updated ID, the new Social Security card. I held it in my hand and felt this weird pulse in my chest, some kind of quiet pride. Marcus was the first to see it. He looked at the card, then back at me. Julian, huh? Yeah, I said. My real name. From before. He grinned. You look like a Julian. I laughed. Better than looking like a Ronald. No argument there. After that, things settled into something steady. I didn't feel like I was wandering anymore. I had an origin, a name that made sense. Something real to hold on to. Not something handed to me by people who treated me like a backup plan. I ordered a small plaque online, just a simple engraved piece of metal. It read, Julian Rivers, born with it. Took it back. I hung it over my desk. Didn't post it anywhere. Didn't make it a moment, just for me. The world didn't need to know. But I did. Because for the first time, I didn't feel like a question mark. I wasn't their son. I wasn't a mistake. I wasn't broken. I was Julian. And that was enough. The coffee shop was quiet, early evening. Low hum of conversations mixing with soft jazz playing overhead. I was halfway through my Americano, reading some article on my phone about truck tires. Don't ask. When I saw her. Cheryl. She was walking down the sidewalk, moving slow like she didn't want to be noticed. Her hair was thinner, dyed darker, pulled back tight. She looked smaller. Not sick, not frail, just reduced. Then she saw me. She stopped, right outside the window. For a second she just stared. Then she raised one hand and pressed it flat against the glass. Her lips moved. I'm sorry. That's all she mouthed. Just those two words. I stared back. No emotion, no panic, just quiet. Then I gave her a single nod. That was it. No smile, no wave, no dramatics. She stood there another second, waiting for more. I went back to my coffee. She walked on. I didn't turn to watch her go. Didn't need to. For once, there was no knot in my stomach. No voice in my head questioning what I should have done. No urge to chase or explain or fix. There was nothing, just peace. My phone buzzed on the table. Text from Marcus. Dinner tonight? My place. Mac and cheese or steak tacos? I smiled. Tacos. Don't burn them this time. Set the phone down, leaned back in the chair, and let it all settle. The silence, the space, the clarity. My mind drifted, quick flashes of it all. The burns, the wrist, the shrinks, the lies, being called disturbed, being thrown out, being told I was family, then treated like furniture, then the truth, the test, the file, the name, Julian. Not hers, not his, not theirs, mine. I wasn't angry anymore. I didn't carry that weight. I was just done. I'd survived everything they threw at me. Every shove, every accusation, every scar they left behind, physical and not. I wasn't their son, but I was still standing. They discarded me, tried to bury me in silence, shame, and made-up diagnoses. Didn't work. I made it out, and I didn't need a reunion, or a final talk, or one last apology. That nod through the glass, that was enough. It didn't heal anything. It didn't undo anything, but it showed me one thing. She finally saw it. Not me, not who I am now. She saw the gap, the consequence, what she lost. Too bad. I sipped the last of my coffee and stood up, slinging my jacket over my shoulder. Outside, the air was cooler now, sky streaked with orange and purple, streetlights humming on. I stepped into it, hands in my pockets, and walked. No shadow behind me, no ghost to outrun, just the evening, wide open in front of me. I was free. Do you think Cheryl actually meant that apology? Or was it just guilt? Drop your answer in the comments. And if this story hit you, like and subscribe for more.
YouTube picked this for you. Tap it. Let's see if they guessed right.